Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how I made this Mother's Day card. It's not real soon, but it's coming up on us and I want to get ahead so I have a chance to make 3 or 4 of these. And what I used to make this card is I have a Whisper White card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then I have 2 pieces of Blackberry Bliss that are cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Then I have 2 more pieces of Whisper White. This one is cut 3 3/4 by 5, and this one is cut let's see, is that right? Yes, this one is cut 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. And this is the decoration I have on the inside. And I am using a couple of different things. This one, this die is from the Layering Circles die that we have, and this is the second largest of the scalloped circles that I used to cut out my piece here. Then I used this lovely Country Floral embossing folder. This is one that is in Sail Abrasion, and it is absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I've made 2 or 3 versions of this card, and I'll show them to you when I'm done here. And then I used Old Olive ink, and I used Blackberry Bliss ink. Trying to think. Oh, the stamp set. I used Tea Together stamps, and out of the stamp set, I'm going to do one of the teapot and the teacup. I collect tea paraphernalia, so this one's kind of fun for me. But what I used here was the Happy Mother's Day and this pretty rose, because it matched the rose in the embossing folder. So let's just get started, and I'll show you what we need to do to make this card. The first thing we're going to do is take the larger of these pieces, which is the 5 by 4 and by 3 3/4. And I set this die right down here along this edge, ran it through my Big Shot, and this is what I get. So I have this piece already cut out and kind of ready to go. Then this piece is for the inside, and we can stamp that in a bit. And then I guess you do need another piece of scrap and of Whisper White, and this piece ended up being about 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. And what I did was I set it in the embossing folder so that I for sure got this beautiful rose kind of right in the center. And then trimmed it down, because we're going to need this eventually to go on the back of here and not stand out so that you can't see the edges of it. So we're going to be doing a bit of coloring, and I'm going to need some scratch paper here. So let's just get started here. And what I used was a couple of daubers. I used a green dauber for the green, and I used a dauber, and I don't see what I did with it. Let's see, did I put it up here? I must have. A dauber for the Blackberry Bliss. Now, I'll show you what I did. This was just using a dauber to just set down a little bit of the color on the top of the raised portions of this embossing folder. I did do this one, where I colored in with my blends of various flowers in different colors, and then just did the rose. But I actually like this technique better. This was much softer. The circle is a little bit bigger, but this would also be a great alternative. And I finished the inside of this pretty much the same, except with this one I'm giving it a little bit bigger border. But the technique here is this. we're going to take this Blackberry Bliss, and working in Blackberry Bliss is like working in Night of Navy or Red. You got to have some things to wipe your hands on real close because this gets all over the place. Okay, so I'm just putting my dauber in the ink pad a little bit, and I am getting some of it off on my scratch paper here, and then I'm just going to go over that rose here, getting light and dark pieces of it until I'm happy with the coverage on the rose, and I think that's just fine. And then I use the same dauber to go over very lightly. I didn't even re-ink on some of these other flowers that are going to show around the edges here. And there's some flowers right here, and there's this pretty large one here. And so I just kind of went over those, and then I used my green dauber here. I just see another place where there's a little flower down here on the bottom. And I could have done these in different colors, but I decided that I really like the softness of that Blackberry Bliss. So then with my green dauber here, do exactly the same thing. Pick up a little bit of color, knock a little bit of it off, and pick up some of these green leaves that are around here, and put some color down on those green leaves. And actually doing it this way is pretty easy. And there's no need to stay right on top of the flower. I did see that I did start to pick up a little bit of this darker color on the little dots that are around, and I'm going to go back and pick up a little bit of color on all of those little dots. Anything that's raised that's in the area here. And then I see this little leaf. I'm pretty sure this one's going to show. So I'm going to go ahead, and if I think it's even remotely likely that it'll show, I'm going to color it in a little bit of the green. There we go. And so now we can just test this. And like I said, the Blackberry Bliss gets all over everything, so I'm going to close this immediately, even though I have some more stamping to do, just so I can keep it out of the middle of my work here. And I'm going to let this sit for a second and dry. In the meanwhile, I used some of our white metal-edged ribbon here, and I used my, let's see, nope, that's the wrong one. There it is, my dark Blackberry Bliss blend here to color this ribbon so that it would match perfectly. So we'll do this, and then we'll go back and put some of our card pieces together here, and then we'll give this a chance to dry. And I went over this pretty heavily and got that Blackberry Bliss color down. And then I'm going to set that aside over here to dry. And this should be pretty dry now. So what we're going to do is, I want this to be centered here, like this. And you can see, I can see another place where a little purple flower is going to show right on the bottom. I'm not sure about that one, but I'm going to color it in just the same. And I think that will work fine. Now, in order to get this centered properly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my snail and I'm going to go right around my circle here with my tape runner. and get my glue down. And then I'm going to center this right over where I want it to be. And I want that rose right in the middle. It's so pretty. So there we go. And anything that's hanging over, I do have a little edge here. I'm just going to use my snips and cut away. In fact, I might just take a little line of that away there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of wet glue, my Tombow here, down underneath these corners, just to make sure. Oops, that looks like it's clogged. Let me see what's going on with it. To make sure that the edges of this stay down. And so I'm going to get a little bit of Tombow in every one of these corners. Oh, and look, it's not completely dry. It's leaving Blackberry Bliss marks. So you might want to dry that with your heat tool if you do that, just to make sure that it's good and dry. Now I'm going to continue on by putting a little bit of Tombow down in the corners here to hold my piece down. I just don't want this to come loose. That one appears to be down real good. Okay, there we go. I'll cap my glue. All right, there we go. We have our piece ready to go here. Isn't that pretty? And what we're going to do is do our stamping next. So right up here, I need to have my Happy Mother's Day stamped in Blackberry Bliss. And it's a very understated little Happy Mother's Day, but I liked it. It was nice and simple, and I like sentiments to be simple. I don't like them to be too giant. So here we have our Happy Mother's Day that I'm going to put right down here in that corner. There we go. And then this piece is for the inside, and I'm going to stamp my rose right here in the corners. So let me use get the ink off of this first, and then ink this up, and I'm going to put a rose in this corner. There we go. And turn it around and put a rose in this corner. Really, for as fussy as this card looks, it's very simple to do. Not a hard card at all. So here we go. We're going to put our rose down in this corner as well. And there we go. Now then, I'm going to let that dry and see how our ribbon is doing. That's nice and dry. So I'm going to put the ribbon on the front of our card here. And what I did was I used my silicone mat, and I put a little bit of snail, a dot runner, on the back of my ribbon on this end and a little bit on this end, and I left the center free because I didn't want that in this one. Well, it's not so bad in this one, but I don't want it to show the ridges of going down and adhering to the inside of that piece. So I'm going to have my glue just be to the outside, and I'm covering up just the bottom of my circle here and putting that in place straight. And then we'll wrap this around the back and secure that ribbon down. Now then, I'm going to use dimensionals to put this piece down on our card here. Okay, I've got some dimensionals here, and I'm actually putting quite a few. I'm certainly putting them in the corners, and I thought I would make sure I got some on the ribbon to make sure that that stays put. And then I did add a couple of extras on the sides and more in the middle because I don't want my rows to sag. So I'm putting a couple of dimensionals behind the rows here in the center, and just another one here to secure my panel down. Okay, so there, well, as long as I'm at it, I think I will put an extra one in the middle on the top and the bottom as well. There we go. All right, so now, let's see, I have my, that's all got dimensionals on it. So I'm going to take my card base now, and I'm going to adhere my Blackberry Bliss pieces with snail. And so one on the inside and one on the outside. And these have ever so slight a border of white around them, just a little bit on both the inside and the outside. And so there we go. We have our inside and outside pieces. Now our inside decorated piece can go on next, and we're nearly done. I put an extra large border on this one because I thought it offset the purple and the roses. I think it's just so pretty. Now on this piece, we're ready to go to put this piece on the front. And so I'll remove the backing papers here. Okay, so this piece is ready to get centered on here. There we go. And the only other thing that I added here was, and we have actually a couple of choices. On the other one that I made, I put the Blackberry Bliss faceted dots on this and put one in the middle of the rose. And I actually think I like the rhinestones better just because they pick up the silver in the ribbon here, and I didn't like the stone in the middle of the rose. It's got such dimension, I think I want that to show. So I have my rhinestones here. Move some of this stuff out of the way. And we're going to add a large rhinestone in here and inside the panel. Then I put a medium one right up here next to my Mother's Day sentiment. And I added just a couple more just so that it wasn't kind of sprinkled around the card. One down here, and maybe I'll add one more. You can never have too much bling. Maybe another one right over here. And there we go. That is our project for the day. I just think it came out so pretty. I'm very pleased with that whole thing. And you'll see me doing quite a bit with this embossing folder. I think there's so many things that you can do with it. There's ways you can use ink on the inside of your folder, put together with Brusho. I've seen some beautiful things done with some of the shimmer paint as well. So I'll be back with several of those before we're done. And so thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, and or you could join my team. This time of year is a wonderful time to join Stampin' Up! The join offer is $175 for $99 worth of product, and an opportunity to get that great tote for $50. And let's see, everything here can be ordered or gotten free because the this lovely embossing folder is free with a $50 purchase in Celebration. And I don't know if you saw, but they just released 8 more products for Celebration, and they made the painted season paper available separately, not just in the bundle. So you have basically 8 or 9 more choices for Celebration through the month of March. They took some things like the pizza boxes, that beautiful laser cut paper, and the pearlized doilies. I can't recall them all, but there are 8 of them, and if you're on my mailing list, you got a layout of them on my newsletter today. So again, thank you so much for stopping by, and that's it for me today. I'll be back soon with more cards and more projects. Bye.